Hey everybody, what's up and welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Liz, your host here at Crimes Untold. I know, sorry about the delay in videos. I had something very personal going on. If you actually are subscribed, like you should be, and you see my community tabs, I did post something on my community tab as to why there was no video. For the remainder of last week, I put one up, but in case you don't follow me, I had a very prominent death in my family, and this person was very near and dear to my heart, and I needed to focus on me and my family first before posting on here. So sorry, not sorry, but my family comes first before this. Unless this was actually my full-time job, then this would come first, but you know what I mean. Anywho, so today we're continuing on the unidentifieds that have been identified in 2023. This will be the last installment for right now before Crimes on Pride starts, which will start on June 1st. No ifs, ands, or buts. I do Crimes on Pride every year, so stay tuned for that. But today we're going to be closing out some more unidentifieds that have been identified this year, because there has been a lot that have been identified this year, and man, it is wild. So, first things first, let's get into it, shall we? So, the fully clothed body of a man was found in the Missouri River by a fisherman on August 9th of 1976, east of Pierre in South Dakota. The body showed no signs of violence or anything that could connect his death to a violent end. There was a map found in his pocket in which they believed he was from out of state. He was wearing a white shirt, a brown Western-style suit coat, brown pants, brown ankle shoes, size 11, and a black belt. His belt buckle was white and gold with the letter L. Further examination revealed that he was 5'5", 145 pounds. He had strawberry blonde hair, gray eyes, and was between 30 to 50. It was believed that he could have died between a few days to about 2 weeks prior to discovery. So, because his body was found in water, it was decomposing, but the water is funny when it comes to death. It will either hinder or speed up the rate of decomposition. So this is where it makes it harder to determine when a person has died if their body is partially in water, submerged in water, all of the above. So, cause of death for him was possibly drowning, but they don't really know because there's no signs of foul play. In 2020, the body was exhumed to retrieve DNA samples in order to use forensic genetics to identify this John Doe. So this John Doe would be identified after 46 years as Stephen Earl Boyce. He was known to be living a transient lifestyle prior to no one seeing him again in Seattle, Washington. His case is considered to not be a homicide, and I'll just leave it at that. Jared McCauley was last seen alive around the 31st of December of 2011 in Portage County, Ohio. He had a conversation with his mom that evening, and he spoke about the possibility of someone coming for him, or someone that was out to get him. That night as well, there was reports that someone heard gunshots around his home at 2300 Lanzinger Road in Suffield, Ohio. So after this phone call he made to his mom, he was never heard from again. Nothing. So it was known in the area that he was struggling with his addiction, and he may or may not have been manufacturing methamphetamine around the time of his disappearance. Initially, it was thought he simply was trying to hide due to his warrant for his marijuana charge that was a misdemeanor. He was 24 years old, 145 pounds, 5'7" in height, had brown hair, hazel eyes, and visible piercings on his face. He also went by the nickname Buck at the time. So his mother would report him missing on January 12th of 2012, so not very long after the last time she spoke to him. Obviously, due to some circumstances, I believe some family members won't report somebody missing if they're kind of known to be on their way for a little while, but would eventually recontact family. In this case, I think that's kind of what happened. Because she didn't hear from him, she kind of got spooked, and then she wanted to report him missing. I would do the same thing, especially when it comes to my little sister. But I know that she reaches out when she feels it's right, and I don't push the agenda. So, anywho, back to this. So we would find out this year that we had found him indeed Well, some of him. So on July 23rd of 2018, an arm bone and skull were found about a peat bog by two Ohio State students that were doing a research project on the peat bog that is off Randolph Road. And oddly enough, this is not far from Jared's house. So the bones were secured and cadaver dogs were brought out there to see if there was any remaining bones, but nothing was found, unfortunately. So it's entirely possible that the other bones may have sunken in the bog or have been taken by animals. This will happen if there's skeletal remains. There will be substantial animal activity that will kind of hinder people securing the other remains. There was a previous John Doe that had been identified where there was signs that there was animal activity on their remains. This is also a possibility. If there's like wolves or something, or even stray dogs in the area and they see something they can chew on, they will pick it up and they will chew on it. Potentially they will eat it, but I digress. This is not believed to be a dump site that he was found at, as it was thought that the bones were moved by the animals due to bite marks on the bones, which means substantial animal activity. So DNA was extracted from the bones and testing would be conducted, and a sample of DNA would be asked to be taken from the McCall family as well. This would be matched to Jared, and he was officially declared dead and publicly identified on April 17th, 2023. So at this time, they are still unsure about what happened to Jared, but his death is presumed to be a homicide. The body of a woman was found face down in the Everglades around 5 p.m. on December 19th of 1998. This boat ramp that she was found on was near Highway 27. So this woman was found to have a recognizable face. Cause of death was homicide. This woman was determined to be 35 to 60, about 116 pounds, about 5'6" in height, had brown eyes, curly brown hair with some gray streaks. And she also had a surgical scar that was from a recent cyst removal. They know this because of the autopsy they did on her. It was suspected that this woman was murdered and then dumped in the Everglades, with the thoughts that she had died in either Dade, Palm, or Broward County. This Jane Doe had a long sleeve pullover with red, white, blue, and black colors and a logo of a sports team, and the logo members only on it, a sleeveless black shirt, a sleeveless blue shirt, a maroon set of underwear, a red lace bra, and black slacks, and a pair of red shoes. She also had a set of red stoned earrings in her ears. So this Jane Doe was determined to be sexually assaulted, unfortunately, prior to her death, which was caused by strangulation. So on May 4th of 2023, this Jane Doe was identified as 41-year-old Eileen Trepner using genetic genealogy. She was last seen in August of 1998, just a few months prior to her being found dead. So there is a person of interest in connection to her case, but the identity of this person is being withheld currently. If you or anyone you know has any information about what happened between August and December of 1998, in the case of Eileen Trepner, please contact the Broward Crime Stoppers at 954-493-8477. Again, if you or anyone you know has any information about what happened to Eileen Trepner between August and December of 1998, please contact the Broward Crime Stoppers at 954-493-8477. The body of an unknown woman was found on the side of a country road in 1987. Little would we know that 36 years later, this set of remains would be that of 24-year-old Christine Lester, who went missing on May 5th, 1987, from Indian Wells, Arizona. She was last seen leaving her home in her uncle's pickup truck at around 6 a.m. with the intentions of traveling 120 miles to the Flagstaff Mall. I know it sounds like a very long drive just to go to a mall, but prior to her leaving, apparently she told her grandmother that she was going to meet up with somebody and that they were going to hitchhike to the mall. She was carrying around $300 with her at the time of her disappearance. She got a ride for 2 miles to Arizona 77 from her uncle when she was dropped off to meet this friend, but she was never heard from again. The woman that Christine was supposedly meant to meet up with said that she had never made any plans with Christine. And this was kind of odd because Christine was not the type of person to just run away. She was extremely shy, she didn't leave the house, and she was a very pious woman. If you don't know what pious means, it's very religious. She was a homebody, so she wouldn't just up and leave out of nowhere. So this is a little suspicious, and at this time, her case is still currently unsolved. 32 years following the discovery of the Lincoln County Jane Doe of 1989, she would receive her name back. Melinda Lou Barnhouse was publicly identified on May 16th of 2023. This was with the help of Othram. The Mississippi Bureau of Investigation as well was also able to help solve the identity of this woman with the help of Othram, I should say. So when she was found on September 17th of 1989, approximately around 12:25 p.m., she was in some bushes at a rest stop on the I-55 in Lincoln County, Mississippi. This was on the southbound side. She was declared dead and pronounced dead at the scene. So she had a pair of white socks on, but ultimately was just naked. Initially, it was thought that she was killed somewhere else and she was dumped at this rest stop, which is entirely plausible, but they don't know. During the examination, it was determined that she was 5'2", 140 pounds, between 16 to 35, had blue eyes, shoulder-length brown hair. Her teeth suggested that she had bad hygiene and bad dental care. She also carried some characteristics of having Down syndrome as well. She had a scar on her right thigh, a scar on her forehead, and it is believed that she was dead for only a few days prior to her being found. Her cause of death was determined to be manual strangulation, and they are unsure if she was indeed sexually assaulted. But like any other John or Jane Doe case I have talked about, this also went cold. In 2009, this would be added to the NamUs network as UP4769. The investigators assigned to this case were unable to match her to any missing persons or anyone in the database, and eventually exhausted their measures due to no leads that were viable at the time. So in 2022, this is when they would ask Othram to aid in the identification of this Jane Doe due to forensic genetics and the advancement of forensic genetics. Melinda Lou Barnhouse was from Maryland, and it is unclear exactly how she ended up in Mississippi. So this case has been solved due to the perpetrators being in prison for her murder. The two men that are in jail for her murder stated that she was a prostitute that came from New Orleans, and they had no idea who she was. So her case all around has been solved. That, my friends, was the last Jane Doe of today's episode or video of Identified in 2023. I hope you guys learn or have learned something from all the John or Jane Doe cases that I have put up, because there's still quite a lot of John or Jane Does that are being found. Like this morning, I went on Facebook. I know, one place of all, but there is a missing and unidentified group that I am a part of, and there's somebody that they put up that he literally was found unresponsive, and he had been dead for a few days, and it's another John Doe that's just added to the list. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in my next one.